And I think there have been questions about DHS for a very long time, given its genesis in a post-9/11 world, that in some ways the sprawling nature of the agency has always been something that folks have wanted to revisit. But in your estimation, is there still legitimacy within DHS, and what would they need to do in order to regain their footing?
Well, Alicia, as you said, DHS is a sprawling enterprise. It covers so many different areas of responsibility on the homeland front. And you need very strong leadership, and you need leadership that is going to ensure that they're able to wield those very institutions within the Department of Homeland Security in a very responsible and accountable way. And so when I think back over the course of many years, Secretaries Chertoff and Kelly and Mayorkas and Jeh Johnson, these were individuals who really demonstrated, I think, the leadership that you need in order to make sure that there was going to be no abuse of authority and responsibility. And now the recent reporting that comes out in the Wall Street Journal in terms of the different types of pettiness. I think it's been clear for a while that Kristi Noem has not been pursuing these responsibilities as a way to benefit the American people and to enhance our homeland security. She's very into, making sure that she has the opportunity to appear before the cameras, but especially at a time like this where there's just such turbulence and such controversy over the role of ICE and CBP and other elements of the Department of Homeland Security, you want to have that strong, objective, independent leadership and not engage in these types of petty affairs, such as firing individuals because a blanket was left behind. Again, I don't know the veracity of these reports, but it's clear that there seems to be a fair amount of chaos within the department. And this is a time when we really need strong leadership, and unfortunately, it's not there.
Chaos is the name of the game with this administration in many ways, right, Michelle? When you look at the tippy-top, how Donald Trump operates, that is how he likes to operate. And this is why something that Senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii said this week, I think that it may not ring true. This is from Notice just yesterday. He said that he hopes that this break will allow Republicans to, quote, go home and get yelled at, not just by people who are progressive, but everybody thinks that this agency is out of control and needs to be reinvented. This is a question of American values, and I think it's going to take them maybe another week to figure out how pissed off their own voters are about the idea of a masked police force terrorizing communities. The question isn't really, are these members of Congress moved by being yelled at by their own constituents? It's whether or not Donald Trump is, because when you have an entire party that follows the whims and the curvature of one man, then the whole thing doesn't work the way that we used to think that it works. That if you go and the constituents get mad at you, you go to a town hall, they call you, and then you stand up to the leader of your party. That does not happen anymore. So Brian Schatz has a point. They may change their minds, these GOP members of Congress, but it's going to take a lot more, it seems, for Donald Trump and Stephen Miller to change their minds about ICE and how they operate within the borders of this country.
Right. Well, look, in some ways, it's the same story as with Epstein, right? This kind of total breakdown in the processes of accountability. Stephen Miller is not going to change his mind. I guess the question is how long Donald Trump thinks it's worth it to him to let Stephen Miller and his sort of, racist fantasies of ethnic cleansing run riot over this country. And there's a certain point, today an AP poll had Donald Trump's approval rating at 36%. Maybe if it gets down to 32%, 30%, maybe at that point he'll reconsider. I also think the thing that was so interesting about this about this Wall Street Journal article is that it's not just Democrats or, nonpartisan people who are critical of Kristi Noem. She is clearly despised by diehard Trump supporters within her own agency. The infighting in some ways is not ideological. It's just purely about these kind of scorpions in a bucket, climbing over each other.